Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to We the Champs, the finest sports show on the turf, in the grass, on the court, or wherever you want to call it. I'm your host, Jalen, and we have a special edition. We're on a college football Power Four conference tour, and today we're talking about the Wild Wild Big 12, baby. All right, so we're going to be doing the preview, making our predictions for dark horses, champions of the conference, and all that other good stuff. So yeah, let's get into the mix. Before I do that, hit that like, subscribe, comment, share, bell notification, and let's do it. All right, so we have the Big 12 here. Big 12's been a premier conference. More so, the schools regionally are like in the Midwest and whatnot. So the biggest news with the Big 12 this year is the departure of Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC conference, which is huge. So that means two things. Bad thing is the top tier strength of the conference and the overall legitimacy is, it's kind of not nuked, but it's kind of dampered down a little bit without those two superpowers being there. But the good news is for all the other schools, hey, it's wide the heck open. Like, this is really anybody's. I mean, barring except for the guys that aren't contenders in the conference, but there's a good pool of teams that could possibly win the Big 12 this year. All right, so let's get into that. Let's see what we got going on. First off, I want to highlight the quarterback talent in this conference. I mean, dude, we're looking at guys all over. Quite a few Heisman hopefuls in here too. So we have Jalen Daniels, Kansas quarterback. Shedeur Sanders, Colorado. We already know. We've seen him in action last year, big time. And Jalen Daniels from Kansas is actually coming back from a big-time injury. Noah Fafita. All right. And I didn't mention Arizona and Utah are the big additions from the Pac-12 to the conference. Two teams that have actually been pretty good recently, especially Utah when they've actually won the Big 12 recently. All right, so we got Noah Fafita. All right, my bad. Sorry, no, I'm going to get that right, bro. It's the last time, all right? And a surprise, fairly newcomer, Rocco Bet. Not sure if I pronounced that right, but I'll get it pretty soon. Sophomore out of Iowa State. He was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. Iowa State, we're going to dig into them too. And my favorite, Avery Johnson, dual threat quarterback out of Kansas. This dude is thunder. He's thunder and lightning. He's a very dynamic quarterback playing for Kansas State. All right. So this is definitely a conference of parity. This is the Power Four conference with the most parity. All right. I mean, comparatively to SEC, I mean, it's maybe four teams: Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, maybe another dark horse team coming out the back that could possibly win. Big Ten, it's Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. And yeah, ACC, looking at Florida State, Clemson, Miami, actually. But really, they're keeping it Florida State and Miami that could actually win. But Big 12, we got more, okay? So my contenders for the Big 12 this year, we have Utah, Kansas State, Kansas University, Oklahoma State University, Arizona, and Iowa State. All right. So my front runners are honestly Utah. That's number one. Utah is the favorite going into this year of the Big 12. All right. So we have Utah. Oklahoma State, they've won within the last 15, 16 years. They've gotten a title. They've been consistently a pretty solid program. Amazing rushing offense this year. And Kansas State University. All right. Kansas State University, they actually have a Big 12 title within the last 3 years. I mean, if you go back and look, man, it's Oklahoma, just running the table. So that's why I'm so excited. I believe the Big 12, other than they don't have as many big name schools, but this will honestly be the most exciting conference to watch as far as like lighting up the scoreboard and just pure parity in the competition. All right. And then more of the back end contenders, Kansas University. I like them. They've recently have been very terrible, but they're on a comeback. They're good. It's Jalen Daniels, their quarterback. Jalen. Arizona, I'm liking Arizona too. I just feel like they're a dark horse contender because Jed Fish, their head coach, left. They had the quarterback, and they have like mostly a lot of their talent. Their talent didn't transfer out, so they did a good job at retaining their talent. All right, and then Iowa State is my ultimate dark horse in the Big 12 conference. All right. So let's get into this a little bit. I started off with Iowa State. The Iowa schools, Iowa and Iowa State, have always had this coerced, hardcore defensive identity. Iowa can't seem to not get anything good going on offense, maybe a decent rushing game, and great tight ends. The supply of tight ends are always good. Those guys can block and pass, specifically block, because these are pretty physical schools. All right. So let's read off some things about Iowa State that I like. So they have the returning Big 12 freshman of the year in Rocco Bet. He's a sophomore now. They have 8 starters on offense returning and 9 defensive starters coming back. Wide receiver Jaden Higgins and running back Abu Sama are coming back, and they have 4 offensive line starters returning. So Iowa State, I'm digging them, man. We can see some things. Like I said, they're my dark horse in the Big 12 this year, and I'm looking at their schedule right now. It's pretty favorable. Let's see. They play Utah and Kansas State back to back towards the end of the season. And every game before that, they play Iowa rivalry in-state game September 7th. So we can see some things here from Iowa State. All right. Next up on the slate, let's take a look at Kansas. So they have 7 offensive and 6 defensive starters coming back. They have depth, experience, and talent. Like I said, they're a Big 12 contender with their superstar quarterback in Jalen Daniels. So I'm excited to see them this year. All right. They finished last year 9-4, lost to Texas Tech, Kansas State. They've done a good job recently. This is definitely a built-up program. I see them contending for years to come. They're definitely in the upper echelon of the Big 12 conference. All right. And my personal favorite in the Big 12, Kansas State. They have superstar dual threat quarterback Avery Johnson, who chose Kansas State over quite a few other schools. Interesting. I think he's a home state Kansas guy. All right. They won the Big 12 in 2022. They have really great depth at defensive end and secondary, so they can rush your quarterback and they can defend in the secondary. Okay. All right. And that team's just always been great with developing the talent. The previous head coach, they have Chris Killman right now at the moment. And Kansas State is my personal favorite to win the Big 12 conference just because I've seen them. They've done it before. If we're looking at the SEC conference, a lot of folks are bullish on Ole Miss. However, we haven't seen Ole Miss do it before. Especially not Lane Kiffin. They have some talent coming back, supercharged, super duper offense. But if we're comparing them to Alabama and Georgia, we've seen Kirby Smart get there, win the title. Kalen DeBoer has won the title championships at other levels in college football, and he's been to the big showdown with Washington there. So it's like, Ole Miss, you got to show it. And in this regard, as far as Kansas State versus the rest of the conference, it's like, hey, you guys got to show it. All right. So let's move on here. Oklahoma State. All right. So they have a super duper senior. I think that's a term now for guys that have been in college for a long time. That must be pretty convenient to go to college for like 6 to 7 years. You can take your time on those classes for your bachelor's, but I'm not sure if these guys are quite undergrads or already grads. But Alan Bowman, it's his 7th season in college playing as a quarterback, which is quite frankly amazing. All right. And Oklahoma State was known heavily for their rushing attack last year. All right. So they have arguably the best running back in the nation, Ollie Gordon II. He rushed for 1,700 yards last year, 21 touchdowns. Elsewhere on offense, they have senior wide receiver Brendan Presley and Rashad Owens coming back. 2 solid foundation pieces to that attack. They combined for 164 catches, 1,800 yards, and 11 touchdowns last year. And this is the biggest part right here for this Oklahoma State team. They have 6 super seniors on offense. Guys, I had to look that up. I think a super senior, I haven't heard it before, but I know since the COVID thing happened, there are people in college for 6 years, like we see with Alan Bowman. This is his 7th year. So these guys could be 6-year seniors or 5th-year seniors. I don't know. But anyways, that experience on the offensive line is just stellar. So they put on last year with this dominant Russian attack. Definitely somewhere in the top 10. And that's just big time in football, just controlling the clock, being able to punish the opposing team when you want to, controlling the clock late in the game, wearing out their defense. That's big time. But they have some questions on defense from last year. They allowed 28.6 points per game. It's not too good. If you can get that number down to maybe by even like a field goal or maybe 4 or 5 less points per game, that'd be significant. But a big thing is they have 10 returning starters on defense. Most of them are sophomores, so they're pretty young guys. So that's the question about having that many guys returning. It's like, all right, y'all weren't too great on defense, and all of y'all are coming back. So it's like, all right, we're experienced now. We're here. We've been there. Let's make it happen. Or is it better to get new talent in and replace most of these guys or majority? So Oklahoma State is definitely in the top tier of contenders here. I can definitely see them along with Kansas State and making a college football playoff performance or college football playoff debut. That's exciting. And elsewhere, this defense was led by Nick Martin, all Big 12 honors last year, 140 tackles. It just got to be better on defense. All right, we can see it happen. They have the experience on offense to make it happen, to control the ball. So we'll see. All right. And we have Arizona. It's a new team coming from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. Their head coach actually left. That's why I'm not quite so bullish on them. They have a good guy coming. I forgot his name. You can check out his name. I have the information right here. Arizona. Brett Brennan. Okay. He's solid, but having that continuity with your prior head coach is really big. However, they did do a really good job at retaining their talent. So if guys left, it was to go to the league, so they retained most of their talent from entering the transfer portal. And the biggest pieces here are quarterback Noah Fafita. There we go, Fafita. And wide receiver Tatario McMillan. Let's just call him McMillan. All right. So this could arguably be the best quarterback receiver duo in college football this season. So I'm very, very excited to see that. They're going to be they're definitely a contender here. So they're going to be exciting to watch. Who knows what they got going on. O-line is still strong. They have some guys coming back, more so upperclassmen. The defense is new on the defensive line. that could be an issue in those trenches. Just imagine them going up against a team like Oklahoma State, is getting pushed off the ball, dominated when they want to, time of possession. That comes down to those margins. Does Arizona have the margins for error to actually compete for the Big 12 title? And they have the Pac-12 tackle leader, and Jacob Manu is back. All right. So let's go to some more fun teams. We have Colorado. Colorado, Deion Sanders primetime, and his two sons, and Travis Hunter. Colorado, I would say, is on schedule. They just had a lot of adversity, especially with what primetime brought to this program, expectations out the roof for his first year there and years to come. But they're on schedule, man. They went from a 1-win team to a 4-win team. And last year they had, let me count it up, they had like maybe 4 or 5, I'd have to count again, 1-point losses. There's a lot to build on. This entire offensive line is gone. They bought in transfers, recruited guy. They had Jordan Seaton, offensive tackle, 5-star recruit, come to their program. Either way you look at it, this program is benefiting from Coach Prime coming here. Just, you think money, just overall money and talent coming into the program. They wouldn't even be right here in this situation. Colorado's outlook for this year, I'm gonna go over 6.5 games. I believe Colorado will get 7 games just from looking at this schedule. North Dakota State, they start there, at home, followed by Nebraska. They play lower teams such as Baylor, Cincinnati. Damn, actually, never mind. I might take this back. Let me give Colorado over 5.5 games. I just have to see some changes here, man. They have the playmakers on the outside. Travis Hunter, your dual threat, both sides of the ball, receiver and cornerback. And Shador, excellent. The offensive, like I said, replaced the offensive line, was terrible with 56 sacks, but a lot of those sacks go on the quarterback too, man. Holding the ball too long. Maybe that's what was required. Maybe, they need some better offensive coordination into creating quicker and better plays for Shador to get the ball out better. But yeah, this is an exciting team to watch, and they have to get better with rushing the ball. Just like I said, controlling the clock. That's the ability the Oklahoma State Cowboys have. They're not a good matchup for them. They had 827 rushing yards as a team last year. And the defense definitely has to get better. I see them in both of these situations going nowhere but up. The defense gave up 453 yards, 35 points per game last year. So I see them in that 6 and 7 game tier, and that's still ahead or on schedule with Prime coming to this program. The only thing is he's going to lose his son to the draft next year. So who knows? That'll be almost as exciting to watch, or even more exciting to watch, okay? Then we have TCU. They were honestly in a super big time college football national championship hangover last year. They were actually one of Colorado's victims. They lost 45-42 in the first game of the season. They should bounce back. They lost to formidable opponents last year. It was tough. They have quarterback Josh Hoover. He's a sophomore. He's pretty young. They need high level quarterback play. Or decent level quarterback play, as I should say. It takes steps. So we'll definitely see them get there, see what happens. I believe they'll be a middle of the pack team, 6 and 6, right there with Colorado in that range. All right. And the last team I'm gonna talk about, because the other are more so bottom tier teams. Utah, the favorite. Utah. So they've won the Pac-12 recently. They were the reason USC didn't make it to the college football playoffs last year. All right. Their quarterback, really good. Cam Rising, he's returning from knee injury. Really good quarterback, really experienced. They have tight end Brant Kuth, and they have a new wide receiver, big player wide receiver to stretch the field, give them some little bit of yaz in that offense. Something they struggled with in this last season. They really struggled on offense. But one thing Utah's not lacking in is defense. This is a just a strong ass, bully ball ass playing kind of football team, and their defense has been pretty stellar. That's what pushed them through the Pac-12, and that's what's going to keep this team. That's their bread and butter. That's what's going to keep them afloat, which is also what's going to keep them ahead of the Big 12. The Big 12 is not known for defense. Big 12 is just known for high-scoring games, shootouts, and whatnot. But you have a strong defense in Utah here who can get that edge over the teams that are definitely lacking in this department. Yeah, so barring injuries, Utah should be the favorite here. My personal favorite is Kansas State. But if Utah claims the Big 12 title this year, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So that's going to be an exciting team to watch. Maybe not that exciting if they're just busting teams down. But yeah, so they have 5 on offense coming back with their quarterback coming back from injury. The addition of Dorian Singer, a big player, wide receiver from USC. They have 8 guys coming back on defense. So the defense isn't going nowhere. That's the culture set for this team. That's what they're going to be. All right. And West Virginia University, don't know too much about them. Hey, look out for West Virginia University. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? And you're looking at big games on the slate. Like I said, this conference has so much parity. There's so many big time matchups that could mean something for this league. All right. September 13th, we got Arizona, Kansas State. Can they win that game? Who can win that game? Oklahoma State. Back-to-back weeks, they play Utah, then they go to Kansas State and play. We have Kansas at West Virginia, Arizona and Utah, Kansas University at Kansas State University, Iowa State at Utah. There's big time games all over the Big 12 this season. So, like I said, guys, I believe this will be the most exciting conference in college football to watch, especially with the parity. You got high scoring and the quality of quarterback talent in this conference here. All right. As far as college football playoff teams, it's 12. You might get 2 dominant non-Power 4 teams. I can see the Big 12 having 2 or 3 playoff bids. All right. I can guess that'll be like Utah, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. My 3 favorites in here. Just depending on how bad they tear each other apart, honestly. The champion will definitely get in. Like, that's no question. The champion will definitely get in. But I see them having 3 at the most, a definite 2 teams in this college football playoffs. All right. So, guys, that wraps it up for this Big 12 preview. Comment, send me some messages. Tell me what you think. Who there any big time players I missed out on? And yeah, so if you want to see the tour, the rest of the Power 4 conferences, just definitely click on the YouTube link. And next up, we have the last Power 4 conference in the SEC. Go Dogs. But yeah, guys, that's about it. We the champs. We appreciate you. We out. Peace.